Over the last few days, I have been doing an awful lot of walking back and forward along this path. And how could I not? With a world this beautiful, there's a lot to admire. One thing I have really been thinking though is that this path does require just a little bit of decoration, and I've been doing a lot of thinking about building lately. I had some brilliant suggestions for this area over here, and while we're not going to do it today, I have decided that I think we should fill this up about halfway with water, and then put an epic bridge from here right across to the village over there. Now, this world has really got me thinking about being a bit more intentional with my builds. I've been thinking about how I want to build and how I can improve on builds from the past. Because I have actually been playing Minecraft since 2011, which means I've been playing this game for 15 years now. And if you think about it, building has changed an awful lot in that time. Building back then was pretty simple, and it wasn't always by choice. There was a bit of a necessity to it. I thought it could be really fun to dive into a little bit of that today, while we do a build of our own. And today we are going to be working on some custom trees. It is almost nighttime, but if you look right over here, I have done some prep ahead of time. I have loads of leaves, I have loads of blocks, some of them a little bit unusual for trees, and even more leaves. Some bushes, some ferns as well. This is almost everything we need, but there is one more thing we need. First, let's sleep, and this feels like a perfect time to show you the new interior to my house. I have been doing just a little bit of work on this, and as you can see, there's a wall here now. Let's go into my bedroom and I will show you what I've been up to. I wanted to keep it quite simple, but add some nice cozy details in here, and the first thing I went for was these shelves. I wanted them to look like a nice molding around the top of the room, and I think they do that perfectly. Plus, we can put stuff in them. Nice. We also have our own closet in here, which currently has nothing in it. I also did just a little bit of work upstairs if you'd like to come up. We have a landing up here with a window, because it was pretty dark in here, got to be honest. This is of course in need of a little more decoration. We also have our living area through here. Now, I did give this a proper window because the window like this meant that mobs could climb from this hill here and come straight inside. I almost died to a zombie, so the window was a necessity. But we do have this lovely little seating area here with the shelves again for the end of the chair. And I'm thinking we should fill this entire wall here with bookshelves. What do you think? We do have a mission to get on, so let's get to it. And as you can see, I need an awful lot of shovels. I'm taking with me, how many is this? 6 shovels. And with our trusty horse here, we are going to head off in search of a desert. We did find one earlier, but I'm actually not sure where it is. I do think it's maybe over this way. So let's set off this way, and that gives us some time to talk. Oh, I ran straight into a tree. And another one! No! So, like I said earlier, I really want to talk about the ways that Minecraft building has changed. I've been playing for a really long time now, and there's a few things that have inspired me to talk about this. One of them being that I'm trying my best to think about all the things I build in this world. I've said before, I want it to feel immersive, I want it to feel thought out, I want it to all feel very intentional. I have a bad habit of just sort of putting builds around the place, and they don't really connect to each other, and that is something I really want to fix in this world. And not only that, but I've been seeing an awful lot of incredible builds lately online. I've seen them on YouTube, I've seen them on Pinterest, I've seen them all over the place. I think Instagram is a really good place for build inspiration. But building in Minecraft has changed really quite dramatically over time. And I did just a little bit of research, and I found out that when Minecraft first launched, there was only about 40 blocks in the game, and now, believe it or not, there is over 800. I did not think we had it over 800 blocks, but there you have it. So really, if you think about it, building back in the day was pretty simple, and it wasn't necessarily by choice. Because that block palette was so small, I mean you only had what? Dirt, cobblestone, plank, sand, glass, all of the basics. There's only so much you could do with a build. A lot of the things I built at least were more about survival and less about aesthetics. I've built many a dirt hut, and also many a wooden shack with no windows. And that's all it had to be. I wasn't that bothered. It didn't have to be a masterpiece. It just had to be functional. Meanwhile, if you think about modern day, there are a lot more blocks. Mojang has done a lot of updates over the years, and like I said earlier, we have almost 20 times the amount of blocks now. There's more variants, there's more colors, and I think that lends itself, well of course, really well to building. Another thing I think that's really inspired, and I think we've seen a lot of it lately, it's sort of become the new building meta, is people using blocks for things that are not their intended purpose. I feel like we're seeing a lot more of that than we were 10 years ago. And what I mean by that is using a block like, for example, cobblestone. Instead of just using it as cobblestone, you might use it for something else. Like to put in a custom tree, for example. I know that at least personally, one of the things I use cobblestone for most is shading in a build. And shading is another thing that I just wasn't even thinking about in 2011. I think we're really lucky to have the internet right at our fingertips. And there's sort of an endless sea of inspiration out there. And not only is it inspiring, but it's really helpful for learning new techniques of your own. I know that one of my biggest inspirations is B00. I think he's brilliant. I think the way he builds is just incredible. He is an artist in Minecraft, and I think you can really see his style reflected in my builds. I also think, on a sort of similar theme, not only has building improved because of so much inspiration, but also because there's almost a bigger expectation now. If you want your build to be noticed, which a lot of us do, you have to build something more impressive. You know, there's that feeling that it needs to be more lifelike, it needs to be bigger, it needs to use more colors, and I think that's really pushed innovation in building. I know that certainly back in the day, if I wanted to build a farm, I was just going to put down a block of water and put as many crops around it as I can, whereas now I'm a lot more inclined to actually build like a field, and maybe a nice wall and a fence. And I feel like all of this is sounding quite negative, but I think it's a really good thing. It's actually one of the reasons I love Minecraft so much. I view Minecraft as a really brilliant way for creative expression. It's very accessible. You know, you don't need any art supplies. There's sort of infinite erasability. If you don't like something, you can just delete it, and it's not hard work. You've got creative mode, which allows you to experiment, and that is actually something I've done with the builds I'm going to do today. I'm really not usually one for building in creative before I build in survival, but I was thinking about all the things I wanted to discuss today, and all the ways that building has changed, and I wanted to put some of those things into practice. I think one of the biggest innovations in building has definitely been the Loucetios mod. If you don't know what Loucetios is, it is a brand new mod. Well, I say brand new. It's come around in the last few years. It certainly wasn't around in 2011. And the mod allows you to build something in creative or survival if you want, and then create a blueprint of that build, which you can paste into any world. And it doesn't paste the actual blocks, but it does paste a sort of, well, a schematic for you to view and for you to base your build on. So the trees I'm going to build today, I have planned them out. I am going to give Loucetios a go. If that is where the building meta is headed and that's where the technology is at, I don't want to be left behind. Because I think it's really interesting, and I know it's a bit of a controversial one, but I think it is a really exciting tool. I think it's brilliant because it allows people to build on a greater scale. I don't know about you, but I do compare myself to some of the YouTubers I watch. The Hermits come to mind, and they're just incredible, but they're also full-time Minecrafters, and I definitely see how it can be disheartening to compare yourself to them. How are you ever supposed to build on a level like them? How are you ever supposed to have so much output? And I think mods like Loucetios really make that more accessible for the average player. And while it is obviously a new technology, I also think it signifies yet another shift in Minecraft building. I know I can't speak for everyone, but personally, when I first started playing, I was not planning out any builds. Like I said earlier, I was building something ugly. You know, like a dirt hut, or I quite often like to build in the ground or in a cave. Whereas now, although I don't necessarily plan all my builds in creative, I definitely think about what I'm going to build before I start. I have a vision for what I want it to look like, what I want the blocks to be, and again, I think that that's part of that shift from practicality to aesthetics in Minecraft building. It's all a lot more intentional, and if you're going to build something, you may as well make it beautiful. Wow, while I've been ranting and raving about building in Minecraft, look at all these stacks we've gathered. Now, I didn't just come here for sand, I also came here to get as much cactus as possible, because I'm going to turn all of this sand into green dye. Green dye? I mean green glass. This green glass is going to go in my tree, and then put my words into action, and I am going to build with blocks that aren't usually used for that purpose. We are going to have glassy leaves, and it's going to look awesome. I'm also going to grab some sugarcane because we need to start thinking about gearing up. It's almost time to start enchanting and maybe think about working our way towards the end. But that is for another day. We have building to do. I've never ever built in the desert before. It's just occurred to me right now. Maybe we're gonna have to do that in this world because this is actually quite pretty. I'm gonna really quickly raid the village because I want these hay bales, and then we are off because we have building to do. We are back home. I have all the blocks I need to build this tree, so I suppose we should jump right into this. Now, this is my first time using Lotematica, and I'm really excited to sit back, relax, and watch as I build a custom tree. Alright, so here we are. The tree is now in the world, and let me tell you, that was a lot harder than I thought it was gonna be. Maybe I'm just not a Lotematica expert, but I found that really quite tough to adjust to. I do think I need to add a few more leaves to this to make it fit the survival world a little bit more. I did take some inspiration from the first one to get me started, but then after that I started taking inspiration from real life, photos of birch trees, and then just a bit of my imagination. Now, there's a few things I have learned from using Lotematica for the first time in survival. One thing is that it definitely does help. If you want to make an exact build, that was a lot easier to sort of put this into this world. I have also learned that there's probably a lot of merit in going just a little bit slower. I think I rushed, and because of that I wasn't able to layer in the way that I wanted to, and I was missing blocks. And so, to put my theory to the test, we are going to build another tree today. That's right, it is a double tree sort of day. Okay, let's get to it, and while we do this, I think it's just about time for another episode of Louis Ranks. And today I've been inspired by our discussions, and we are going to rank Minecraft updates. And one thing I really realized while I was doing this, and while I was compiling this list, is that most of my favorite updates are actually quite recent. So kicking us off at number 5 is the Village and Pillage update. I feel like this is a really underappreciated update, but one of the reasons I appreciate it so much is definitely because of the nostalgia I have. Village and Pillage was just about the time that I was really starting to get back into the game, and so I have a lot of fond memories. I also love the update to villages. I think they look so much better. They were in dire need of an update for quite a long time. In 4th place, and I almost consider this to be more of an honorary mention, because it's such an important update, and while it's maybe not one of the first ones that comes to mind, it is kind of the first, real update. So next on my list is 1.0, the release version of Minecraft. The end is still, and probably will always be, a very key and exciting part of Minecraft, even though I do think it is in severe need of an update now. So, heading into 3rd place, and this is where I think they start to get really good, I have picked the Nether update. Of course, it's a classic, and as someone that doesn't spend a lot of time in the Nether, this really makes me want to spend more time there. I think the addition of biomes was such a brilliant idea. I love all the new woods. Of course, I love the Strider. I think he is so cute. I think the Bastion is brilliant. I just think it really added a lot to the game. I really like the idea of going back and updating old things in Minecraft. I don't always feel like we need a new update, and this is a perfect example of that. But why add a new dimension when the Nether is already there and in need of a little bit of a sprucing up? They definitely got it right with this one. And with the next one, which is in 2nd place, the Update Aquatic. And to be honest, I'm quite surprised this isn't first, because I think this is one of the best updates ever. At the risk of sounding a bit dramatic, I think the new updates to water kind of changed the entire game. Now, not only does everything look way better, but it feels better. It feels more immersive. I'm a lot more likely to build with water. I'm a lot more likely to visit the ocean. I love all the new fish, the corals, even just the way the ocean looks and feels now. Completely different, completely better. I approve. Now, as always, I would love to hear your thoughts and feelings on all of these as well. Let me know what your favorite updates are. And also, before we go into number one, let me know what you think we should rank next. Okay, so heading into number one, my favorite update of all time, and I think this is a really big one, and also maybe a bit of an unfair one. Drumroll, please. So, number one is the Caves and Cliffs update. And the reason I said this is unfair is because it's technically two updates. I know, but I've decided to combine it into one, because I sort of see it as one whole unit. And I mean, look at this. Need I say more? Look at this. Oh my goodness. The complete overhaul to terrain in Minecraft isn't something I knew we needed, but as soon as they did it, I'm so glad they did. To be honest, it sort of wiped away any desire I felt to go back and replay the old versions. When the game looks this good, why would you? Plus, we got cave biomes for the first time, azalea leaves, moss, some of the best blocks in the game, and we also got double the world height. Again, it's one of the updates that I really played a lot of, and so it will always have a fond place in my heart. I just feel a little bit bad for combining the two updates into one, but it had to be done. So, those are my top Minecraft updates. Let me know what yours are, and let's get finished with this build so we can take a look. Alright, and there we go. It is raining, but there is our second tree. I love the depth of this. I love how light and airy this feels. I really tried to experiment with the branches on this one, and I really like how they turned out. I think maybe in the sun this will look even better. So I'm off in search of some of my favourite flowers, which if you didn't know is Lily of the Valley. Although I'm also a huge fan of the lilacs, so let's grab some of these too. Because no custom tree is complete without a little bit of decoration around it too. I am really happy with these builds. I think they just turned out lovely and very lifelike actually. I did mention this earlier, but I did plan these builds out in creative. And I think I'll show you right now on screen. The first one, I took some inspiration from the internet. And then from there, I just took inspiration from my own mind. And of course, from real trees. You can sort of see the progression from the first one to the end, where they just got a bit more and more crazy each time. I really had a blast with these though, and I had a blast putting my building abilities to the test. And while we're here, and while I'm showing off a little bit, I wanted to show you this edit I made of our house. I think it really captures the feel that I want our house to, embody. I really like it. Enjoy. I haven't built trees like these before. I will definitely be building trees like this again. But now it is time for some subtle decoration here. And when I say subtle, I do mean it. I'm gonna go in with some ferns, some of our flowers, maybe just little patches here and there. And I think this just makes it feel just a little bit more real. I also love a little bit of coarse dirt, so I think we should go in with some of that too. I really think ferns are one of the most underrated blocks in Minecraft. At the risk of sounding a little bit crazy, I just think they're beautiful. Look at this. I think they can soften any build. And I don't know. I'm a fan. I'm also gonna add a couple little bushes in here, just to spice it up a little bit. And I'm also aiming to get rid of all of these little blank spaces here. You can sort of tell this is where I've chopped down some trees, and it doesn't look very natural. I will go in here and add a few more trees. Eventually these will be custom, but for now we are going to make do with Minecraft trees. And there you have it. I think this has added so much more life to this area. And these trees just perfectly complement our house. I spoke about this a little bit earlier, but I really love how, when you think about it, a block like diorite does not make sense in a tree. But it just adds that little extra touch that makes this a bit more magical. Like when you really look at this tree and you look at things like the trapdoor, the shelves, the glass, the diorite, it ruins the illusion a little bit. But the magic of Minecraft lets you see this as a tree. It lets you see this as an organic thing. And I think that's really beautiful. So if you don't mind me, I am off for a lovely little woodland walk. And hopefully, I will catch you next time. See you!